Okay, so here to show you how you can start your own multiplicity photo using Pixlr. It's definitely not the most easy application for masking, but it is doable. So here I have one started. I'm going to work backwards from scratch. So you can see I have a layer on the side at the bottom with a blank background. So if I turn these two layers off, you can see what that looks like. So first I brought in that blank background shot. Then I brought in the furthest photo of me at the oven, and I placed that on top of the background layer, moving from backwards in depth forward. So in other words, where the subject was furthest from the camera to where the subject was closest to the camera. And now I did this all with my cell phone and no tripod, so proof that you can do it too. So I'm going to show you how you add each layer and then you create the mask on that layer to reveal the photo underneath so that you can have multiple views in the same frame. So I'm going to go to my top layer in the layer stack and I'm going to click the plus button at the bottom of the layers panel to add a new image. So plus, choose image, and I'm going to choose, I've labeled them in terms of numbers for which one's getting closer to the camera. So now I've added the photo on top of the previous two photos of me beyond the fridge, actually closer to the camera itself. You see that the other two me's, the one at the oven and the one at the fridge, have now disappeared. So me at the chopping block is in front of the other two. As you can see in this image, there's no scissors to show that there's anything being masked. Now, what I found was easier to do was to actually remove the background from the layer mask as opposed to add myself to the layer mask. Again, this would be a lot simpler to explain in Photoshop with the black to conceal, white to reveal, but I'll go over it with you a couple times in this video. So I'm going to go to my toolbar and select these scissors, the cutout and mask. And at the options on the top, I'm going to move it from add to mask and choose remove from mask. So I'm going to be removing everything in the background and just leaving the me that's at the counter. I'm going to choose paintbrush. I found this to be easiest. You could try the magic mask, but I found that there was just so much in that picture that it took me too long. So I'm going to go with the paintbrush, or we could also try the lasso. So if I lasso around this side of the background, just a bit there, and then you'll see the other two me's start to show up. And then I can go really quickly around the other side of the frame and remove that. So you see that because I didn't have a tripod and I was just using myself as the photographer and the model with my phone set to timer, that the background did shift a little bit, but we're going to make sure we fix for that in post. So I'm going to go to now the paintbrush icon, make sure I'm on remove from mask, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer so I can see the edge of my legs there. And it looks like I actually, with that smart wand, actually removed part of my sock there. You can see my sock is now revealing back to the tile in the background shot. So I'll have to go back and add that to the mask. So I'm just carefully painting around my feet to try and go back and reveal the layer that's underneath where that Miss M is at the oven. Okay, so if you accidentally remove parts of your mask that involve the person, then you simply go to add to mask, select the brush size that you want. One's a little too small, and you can paint those back in. So that magic wand was detecting my socks as the same color as the tile, so it accidentally pulled those into the mask as well. So now I've just added them back in. So I'm going to go back to remove from mask, and I'm going to scroll up so you can see the change here. So the teacher that is at the chopping block, behind her, there's no open oven. So the shadow has changed. So I'm simply removing that area from the mask to reveal the teacher underneath that has the oven door open and the shadow is a little bit different. So this does take a bit of fine tuning. You can also see the areas where the cupboards shift. Whoop, don't do that move, that's wrong. So I'm going to paint again. I can do this a little bit quicker with a larger brush to bring those back in so that it is all aligned with the layer beneath it. Now, if you have a tripod or you were successful in making your own makeshift tripod from my lessons on that, this might be a lot easier for you. You might have a very, very simple time of masking, so you might not even have to mask that far back if your backgrounds all align in all of your images. But if you're like me and you are stuck with what you're stuck with, then this is all you've got. So I now can back up a little bit and I see that above my waist, I'm missing a face on this Shannon. So just go back and remove that area from the mask. Make my brush size a little bit smaller. And if something like that is happening, then it might mean that your mask beneath this photo layer is actually the problem. So I'm trying to paint over this because I noticed there's some white there and it's not coming back in. So what I then need to do is go back down to the layer beneath it and test it out there. See if my mask there had some issues. Yep, there it was. And again, on this layer, it looks like I accidentally took out too much of my leg there. So add that back in. And if it's not working, test the layer above it. Go back up there. Okay, that's where it was. That little spot on the window is still looking a little funny. Whoop, took too much of myself out there. Okay, so this process does take a little bit of finessing, going back and forth and testing the different ones out. See, there it was on that original one. You can see some problems with the lights up there too. That again, I might have to go back up, back and forth and see which layer is missing that area in the mask until it all aligns up and makes sense. Okay, so now I'm going to go over that step again, and I'm going to fast forward this part, but I'm going to go over the steps one more time. So scroll back down to the bottom of my layer stack, click the plus icon, and choose image. I'm going to go to the folder where I saved them and add the next frame on top. I'm going to go to that frame and choose the scissors from my toolbar, the masking. I'm going to select the paintbrush and I'm going to choose remove from mask and start with a big brush to make this easier for you. See, my dog got in this shot here, so I'm going to take her out and got some funky coloration happening there from my plant lights. Okay. All right, now here is the tricky part. If you're in a tight space when you're shooting, a lot of your clones or mini-me's are gonna start to overlap with one another. So in this case, the person that's behind the person opening the dishwasher is overlapping that person who's opening the oven. So when I'm doing my masking, I'm gonna have to still be careful not to take out too much of the top layer, but still check in all those little weird spots in between. So what you can do is also abandon ship, right? Know when to say, okay, this one's gonna give me a big headache, so maybe I actually click those 3 dots, delete that layer and try for the next one. I had one up closer to the front, so let's go on to the Multiplicity image 5. Okay, and this one is leaning against the counter there, and go back up to my scissors, remove from mask, choose the draw, increase the size, and paint around your background to reveal the other clones behind you. All right, and I won't go into the finesse again, but you're trying to make a smaller brush, zoom in with your magnifying glass or Control Plus, or if you have a mouse with a scroll feature, just zoom in that way and get into all those fine nitty-gritty lines, still making sure you're removing from mask. If you take out too much and erase part of your body, then add to mask, okay? I hope that this tutorial helped you out, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of your Multiplicity photos. Take care.